this is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. We're coming at you once again from Hawaii here on the Big Island outside Hilo. And I'm here for a very special time today to show you guys a cool garden that's happening right behind me. So what this is a 1.5 acre property, and the gardeners here that are in their 50s and 60s took possession of this about only 8 months ago. And within 6 months, they were growing enough food to sustain themselves on. So you guys could do it too. You know, every summer or every spring when the weather warms up, normally you guys got at least 6 months of nice spring-like conditions. You could plant some stuff and be eating out of your own garden by the end of the season. Here in beautiful Hawaii, they have year-like spring/summer conditions. So it never gets cold. So there's some amazing crops that they could grow here year-round. Now, they've been gardening for many years, and they used to be vegetable gardeners, and now they're getting a bit more older, and they don't want to actually, do all the work that vegetable gardening takes up. They want to grow enough vegetables so that they can eat themselves, but not for market. So what they're doing instead is actually putting in fruit trees and keeping them dwarf and small so that they're easily harvestable. And they have planted so many different fruit trees. I just got a whole tour, and we'll share with you guys a few things. So the first thing they did probably was put up an outside wall that looks very nice. And in the little way there's a little tea tree and some other edible plants planted in the ground, but you might not never know what it is. So let me go ahead and show you guys that, because that actually is one of their sustaining food sources at this time that produces relatively quick and can provide you with a lot of calories. All right, so this is part of their entryway off to one side of the drive, and they got a little tea plant here, and some varieties of tea, and this is not the standard tea that you drink, this is a different kind of tea plant, are edible, but they have another use for the tea plants here. Actually, they feed the leaves to the chickens. So they're working on having a 100% self-sustainable farm where they're growing the food for their animals. The animals are making the poop, and then they're actually using the poop to grow more food for themselves. Totally ingenious. And more people should totally do it. But in any case, behind me you see a nice, beautiful, ornamental-ish looking plant. I mean, it's kind of like green with purple stems. Let me show you guys this. Stuff's really cool. It's called the sweet potato vine. So underneath the ground, they got the sweet potatoes that you could cook that are carbohydrate rich and also very antioxidant rich. So these are sweet potatoes, not your standard, white potatoes or russets or anything like that. It's a different kind, different variety of plant that I like actually a lot more. In addition, many cultures do actually use the sweet potato greens and cook them up and eat them. And when I was last in Houston, actually, I found a really cool variety of sweet potato that does not actually make the tubers, but it's grown specifically for the greens. So sweet potatoes, definitely one of their sustaining foods, and we'll show you a nice large patch in just a little bit. Anyways, let's go ahead and enter this farm and show you guys around some of the areas of the farm and share with you guys some of the ways they're growing. But before we do that, what I want to show you first is actually the soil and the land here. And you guys are going to be amazed that they're actually growing in this concrete-like substance. All right, so what we're looking at now is how most of the ground here actually looked. It looks like this. You're like, John, what is that, asphalt? Don't make fun of the fault, because you might be called an ass. Anyways, no, this is not asphalt, man. This is like real earth right here. This is not a man-made substance. This is a nature-made substance. It's actually dried lava called apahoihoi. Say that 5 times. It's kind of a funny word. Apahoihoi. If you have kids, they're going to run around now saying apahoihoi. But that's just like smooth kind of lava, and it dries kind of looking like this, man. It's almost like really artistic. I'd love to actually just take this off in sheets and like hang this on my wall. It'd be really cool. But in any case, this is what the ground looks like here, literally, and you just can't plant on this stuff. I mean, many of you guys might be having an asphalt lot you want to grow off of, and it's kind of like this. At least you could jackhammer the asphalt. This stuff goes pretty deep, man, because what happened is the volcano blew, the lava came and flowed towards the ocean. It dried, it just dried like this. Of course, in the lava, there was cracks when it formed and whatnot, and dirt and soil gets in the cracks, and then plants grow up it. So yeah, you could kind of like dig out some of these cracks and start planting in there, but the problem arises that because this stuff is black, right, and it gets like 80 degrees in the days in Hawaii, it's beautiful weather. Don't be too jealous of me, I know many of you guys are still in the snow. It gets really hot in the cracks actually because this stuff is black. It absorbs the heat, and that heat transfers into the cracks and it evaporates the moisture really fast, and anything in there, the roots could literally fry if it's not kept cool enough. So, you know, some of the weeds and things are coming up are very hardy plants, but, you know, other kind of vegetable plants might not make it. So let me go ahead and show you guys what they're doing so that enables them to grow over this pahoehoe. All right, right now my butt is sitting on some nice pahoehoe. Good thing it's a cool day today, otherwise my butt would be on fire. I don't like that. Anyways, so we're sitting here, and as you guys can see, we got the lava, the pahoehoe right here, and as you guys can see behind me, there's a big pile of something. And I know you guys that are long-term viewers know what that stuff is. Wood chips and mulch, baby. This is what it takes to convert, you know, lava rock or an asphalt, you know, lot, or a concrete sidewalk area, or your driveway if you want to grow over it. You need to bring in the wood chips and the mulch, and what they do literally is kind of like, this is the freaking lava rock underneath that pile, you know, that's about, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall, is the lava rock, and they bring on the mulch, and luckily because of in this climate it's nice and rainy and wet and moist, but you also get the blaring sun every day. I mean, this is the tropics, this is paradise. And what happens is all that mulch actually breaks down fairly quickly, and it turned into that black gold, the soil that they're growing in. So they actually get truckloads and truckloads of the mulch dumped on their property, and slowly but surely they're spreading it over all the 1.5 acres to make their ground fertile, because you literally can't grow on top of pahoehoe. So yeah, so it really is taking mulch. So, you know, I've been to places, my friends in Portland, Oregon, that are using the wood chips. They're using it here, and I believe it could definitely work for you, you know, in the right conditions. So I think it's amazing and great what they're doing. Let me go ahead and show you guys a few plants that's planted in a mulch pile like this. So as you guys can see, they got some bananas planted in a fairly fresh mulch pile. Some things they'll plant in a pretty much straight fresh mulch pile that has not been sitting for so long. I normally actually do not recommend this. You can do this with certain crops, however. You know, most of the time for best results and the highest level of success, I recommend getting the wood chips or the mulch dumped and letting it break down for a while into that black gold, into the soil before you're planting it. But what they're doing here is working, as it looks like. They have some really healthy looking banana plants, or bananas, some people call it a tree, but it's an herbaceous plant. It's an herb versus a tree because it actually doesn't have the wood like a regular tree would. And they're doing really great. In addition, in the front of the lot, they actually have a ginger, the edible ginger, planted in a similar fashion, you know, and those two do just fine. Other than that, what they do is they basically let this stuff break down and mature. They also actually add some additional nutrition to it. So let me go ahead and show you where they get their additional nutrition for their mulch piles from. So this is where the additional nutrition comes from here on their property. They have, as you guys can see behind me, chickens. Bok, bok, bok. Don't be a chicken, raise some chickens. So they have chickens not only for the meat, and actually as I was talking to them, they were telling me that actually the meat is much more valuable to them, not to just kill and eat because then they're gone, but to raise them for the eggs, but also raise them for the manure to get organic matter and bring organic matter and convert, you know, some of the things on property like the leaves, and these are free-range chickens, so they just come out and find bugs and eat stuff and eat just some of the leaves on the property of the wild weeds growing into useful fertilizer that they can then enrich their beds with. Now, the chicken fertilizer is what's called a hot fertilizer, and in my opinion should be composted before you use it. So it's perfect to add to your compost pile. But if you're impatient like I am, there's another really good manure you can use to just literally plant directly in, although if you wanted, although I would personally still compost it. And let me go ahead and show you guys, you know, how that stuff is made. So the other resource they have are wabbits. I saw a stinking rabbit. Wabbit. And they have two little bunnies here. They have a whole bunch of different cages here. And once again, they feed the rabbits, like the tea leaves, for example. And then the rabbits make their little poop balls out of the leaves. Basically, the rabbits absorb what they need, and then they poop. And they've set this up actually with free pallets. So they have like a fencing made out of pallets here to keep the animals in. And plus they have it sitting on pallets above the ground. What they'll do is they'll remove the cage and remove the pallet. Hey, little guy. And then they'll be able to actually scoop up all the rabbit poop. They might do this every couple weeks, and I guess lately they just got like one big 55-gallon drum of rabbit poop. So that's a lot of fertilizer. So once again, you know, instead of eating the rabbits, because you could eat one rabbit and maybe have a meal or maybe two, they're using the rabbit poop as a nutrient to cycle back into their system to feed their coffee plants, to feed their trees, to feed their vegetables, so that they could eat and actually grow more food for the rabbits here. So I definitely think that's a much better use of the resources than, you know, eating your rabbits and have them disappear, especially when you're just starting your flock. So let's get the flock out of here. All right, here's a nice area that we're looking at here. It's a pretty developed area near their living structure that you guys can see has, you know, things like coconut palms right here in front of me. In addition, they have a lot of things in containers, which we'll touch on in a minute. But they also have all their fruit trees planted in this little area, including actually a lot of coffee. So they're literally growing their own coffee. Many of you guys can't do that. And, you know, as you guys know, Hawaiian coffee is a famous coffee. No, I'm not from the East Coast. I'm a California guy that says coffee. But anyways, they got a lot of coffee plants there, some unique varieties that I actually haven't heard of before. And let's see, they also have a few more plants, including tropical apricot that's actually producing right now. These trees are pretty young still, but they're just starting to produce. I saw like an orange over there, and they got some pineapple plants back there, and I saw a ripe pineapple over there, which maybe we'll show in a minute. And let's check out that tropical apricot next, man. It's totally cool. All right, so here's that tropical apricot tree that I've been talking about. Now, they're keeping these guys pruned down low, like 5 feet tall, and allowing them to branch out. So because they have an acre and a half, they have space to play with, and they're planting their trees, you know, a little bit farther apart than normal because they want to keep them low and spread out instead of high and tall like many orchards actually would. And as you guys can see here, some of the nice, delicious tropical apricots, still ripening them up. If you try to eat them right now, not gonna taste good, so you need to let them fully ripen up. There's some here. I mean, they're pretty much all over this tree, and this tree was only planted like 8 months ago. So that's grows really fast here with the sun shining every day and plentiful water. Shh, don't tell anybody. They got a pot garden here. Not that kind of pot, you potheads. They got things in pots growing in a garden. So once again, because their soil is like the lava rock, they can't grow in the ground, right? Very simple and easy to get some pots and grow them. And they got, you know, a lot of plants in pots. Not only to have them in pots now to let them, you know, grow and fully mature in the pots, but as they figure out where they're going to be planting different things, they're going to take these guys and actually put them in the ground to continue their life cycle and be more productive than just stay in a pot in your whole life. And I don't want you guys being or staying in a pot your whole life either. All right, I'm so glad I get to share this plant with you. This is a rare one that many of you guys may not know about. If you watch my other episodes, you know, on my show recently in Hawaii, you've learned about this. But now I'm actually getting to show you guys what it looks like in real life. This is actually called the miracle berry, and it's kind of a bush, not quite a tree. I've seen some really like old 25-year-old miracle berry bushes, and they kind of look like a tree, but they're still kind of a bush because they don't get really tall. But this produces these little red berries here, and these berries are tripped. They're like pretty much nondescript, and it's not like going to be like a viable food source, but it is good for some party fun actually. So what you do is you take one of these miracle berries, you'll eat it, chew it on up, and pretty much has a nondescript flavor. And then what you could do is you could go over to your lemon tree that's producing abundant lemons, right? And you're gonna eat your lemons, you're like, oh, they're so sour, but you come over and eat one of these first and then go eat your lemons. It tasted like the sweetest lemonade ever. It kind of messes with your taste buds. So definitely a valuable thing to plant next to your lemon trees and impress visitors and guests by saying, here, try one of these. Oh, try these lemons. And everybody's going to walk away from your property thinking, man, they grew the best lemons I ever tasted. All right, so where we're sitting now is actually one of the major calorie sources for the couple that lives here. And we're sitting on basically the lava rock, and on top of that, they piled up the mulch that was added in with some of the manures. It broke down. They now have a nice fertile soil here. And they planted all this sweet potato vine. As you guys can see, I mean, this whole area is just encompassed. This makes an excellent ground cover, but also a really excellent food source. So what they'll do is they'll come over to this area and they'll just kind of like dig this guy up. And every day they could come out and they'll find little sweet potatoes that they could eat for dinner, cook them on up. They have also dogs on the property. They could cook these guys up for the dogs so they don't have to buy dog food, because actually dogs love sweet potatoes. And even mix it in with some of the greens for the dogs. Dogs love greens and the sweet potatoes, and it's a good calorie source for them as well. Especially if you're trying to get away from things like rice and grains and stuff like that. I definitely like sweet potatoes a lot more. But yeah, and it grows like a weed here in Hawaii. I mean, if you live in Hawaii, have some extra space, grow some sweet potato. It'll fill in, look really lush, like ornamental. I mean, look at that, it looks really pretty. But also provide you with hidden food under the ground should you need it. All right, guys, it wouldn't be a trip to Hawaii without seeing some Hawaiian pineapples. As you guys can see here, here's a little pineapple starting to form here, and they have a lot of different pineapple plants spread throughout the property. I mean, it takes like 1.5 years for a pineapple to fully mature and develop. So if you plant like one pineapple like every month, like a plant every month, in 1.5 years, you'll have one pineapple to harvest every month. So if it was me, I'd probably plant like, I don't know, 5 pineapple plants or 1 pineapple plant every week. And then 1.5 years later, I'll have a continual harvest of 1 pineapple every single week and get to party with some pineapple. And as you guys can see, what happens is it grows out of this plant here in the middle, and then it makes a little fruit, and then it makes a little top here. So once the pineapple is done, you could actually just spin off the top, take some bottom leaves off, and let it dry out first. And then stick it back in the ground, and then this will actually grow into a new plant and make yet another pineapple. Yet another never-ending source of food here on the Big Island. So as you guys can see over in this area, they have a fenced-off area, and this is their very delicate and fragile vegetable garden. It's actually kind of fenced off because the chickens are free-range, and if they didn't have the fences, the chickens would get in there and eat everything, because guess what? A vegetable garden to chickens is like being in Las Vegas at one of those buffet gourmet things where you can just all you could eat, right? They get bored of all the regular field stuff. They want some of their gourmet greens, and these are the greens that I believe we should eat as well. And so they got all these fenced off and protected from the chickens and other creatures in the area. So they're growing a variety of things, once again, in the pots, because you know, some of the land, as I'm looking at, is just lava rock. And so they have a lot of things planted in pots, including a lot of the little plant starts that will soon actually go in the ground. I mean, they got some amazing plans for this place. I took a tour with one of the gardeners here, and they're gonna make a freshwater pond, a saltwater pond, and use the rabbit poop to feed the fish, and then use the fish poop and fish emulsion to feed the plants. And they're gonna basically be self-sustaining one day. So I really look forward in the future to come back and update you guys on how this place is going, and also see how it's going myself, because I'm actually quite excited about it. So the last thing I want to share with you guys is one of those no-brainer foods that if you live in Hawaii, you should definitely plant. What they got planted is right behind me, and I know you're saying, John, I know what it is. Well, shout it out so everybody in your household can hear you. Bananas! We love bananas! All right, so they got bananas planted. Bananas are an amazing food source. You can use them when they're green as a starch source if you like cook them up. They often cook plantains in many different cultures. Although I prefer and encourage you guys to harvest all your bananas ripe. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait till the banana tree, because it's not really a tree, grows up, and then it makes a flower, and then it makes the fruit, and then what's gonna happen is the fruit slowly is gonna start to turn yellow. As soon as like one banana turns yellow, then you're gonna cut the rack off, put it in a protected environment like a screen room so that the fruit flies can't get in there, and then it's gonna slowly ripen up. It's during this slow ripening process where the bananas emit their own ethylene gas that then the full flavor and the full sweetness comes out in the bananas. And I know some of you guys are thinking, John, but I've tasted the bananas at the store. They taste horrible. Well, that's because imported bananas, for many of you guys that live on the mainland, I'm sorry, are picked far too green, and then they're ethylene gassed. So they're artificially ripened up. They're picked too early, they're artificially ripened up, and they're ripened up too quickly so that all those complex flavors and the high levels of sugar do not develop. So if you want some real bananas, you gotta come to Hawaii and get some slowly ripened, tree-ripened bananas. And actually they have a number of varieties, over a half dozen varieties here. So let me tell you, my meal today for lunch was a meal full of exotic, heirloom, different variety of bananas that had a flavor like no other. I mean, the bananas I was tasting today kind of tasted between bananas and berries, and this is just one little small banana. They're so good. Well, the sun's going down. I didn't get back home and eat my dinner tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and it really shares with you guys what is truly possible. I mean, the older couple that moved in here moved in about 8 months ago. They've slowly, you know, with their hands, not even any heavy equipment yet, building this property, growing their own food, have enough food to eat off of each and every day in just, you know, the small area that they have worked. I can't wait until they get the other 1.5 acres developed into a full-on food forest with saltwater, freshwater pond, and all these systems in place, vertical gardening systems to grow an immense amount of food. They'll even have extra to sell at farmers market, and hopefully there'll be some of the healthiest people around because they're eating, especially the greens, off their land, and greens are really that important. Once again, my show is called Growing Your Greens, and I want to encourage you guys to grow your greens and eat them each and every day. Once again, my name is John Kohler saying aloha from Hawaii. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing. Aloha.